Okay, so I'm just going to start with my introduction. So good morning again to everybody. Thank you to those who have already joined us. We have about 2 minutes before the session starts. So I am Denise Matthews. I'm the chapter director of Startup Grind in Gibraltar. It's an organization that aims to educate, inspire, and connect entrepreneurs, businesses, and investors around the world. So we have been hosting our sessions online, obviously, given the circumstances. And our team member, Mark Wilson, who is a digital leader, has been helping us out to deliver these sessions, especially to support small businesses and just people who want to know more about their own marketing. Again, especially in times like these, it's been interesting to see how much more engagement there's been online. So we're going to dive into that a little bit more in depth. He is absolutely awesome. So I'm so glad that we are delivering this today. Just before we start, I'm going to play our sponsor videos. So while everybody gets comfortable and we give it a few more minutes, I'm just going to share our short sponsor videos with everybody. Thank you all for joining. Thank you to our sponsors, Abacus, Gibraltar, Gibraltar Finance, and our partners at Regis for their continued support. And I will just share my screen. And there we go.
If you've been online recently, you may have seen our pension adverts once or twice. But did you know that Abacus offers so much more than pensions? We have over 40 years experience, and with over 10 accountants, we can provide accounting, payroll, and tax planning services. We also have dedicated teams with professionals in company formation, trust and estate planning, funds, and family office services. Visit our website at www.abacus.gi to find out more.
Thank you for joining us. The purpose of my talk this morning is really just to give a context to what we're doing and what I think business in Gibraltar really is all about.
It is part of Gibraltar's growing international appeal that we welcome people travelling from so many places across the globe to share in our events.
But I began my remarks today by noting how significant the Gibraltarian insurance market is to the ABI, but more importantly to consumers in the UK. And we remain fully supportive of this market and of the choice that it gives UK customers.
So in the context of private clients, when you're looking at a jurisdiction that is reliable, stable, and safe, we think we tick those boxes quite well.
I'm very excited about it, and I think now is the time really for managers to start really looking at other alternatives other than just looking at the traditional, is it Luxembourg, is it Ireland in a post-Brexit world. I think now will be, what about Gibraltar?
Okay, then. Well, perfect. I think we're ready to hand over to Mark. So Thank you very much again.
Thanks, Denise, for the intro. I'll just share my screen quickly. Okay, morning everyone and welcome to the session. Good to see really good attendance and I hope everyone's going well. Just a bit of background, I guess this started off as a bit of a COVID motivated series of advice, but there should be definitely a lot of things in here and actionable tips that you can apply to your business anytime. It doesn't have to be during a global pandemic, and there should be plenty of value in there. What we'll cover, we'll do a brief intro, which we're sort of finishing off now, and then we'll move into the main presentation, which is 8 smart ways to market your business. We'll include some free tools and some case studies in there too. There'll be a brief Q&A discussion at the end. For those who are unfamiliar, participants will be muted during the presentation, though in the Q&A session, you'll be able to raise your hand via the Zoom controls if you want to be unmuted and speak, or if you don't feel, if you're a bit shy and you'd rather just type your question into the chat or QA section of Zoom, you can do that anytime you like. And again, for those who are unfamiliar, where those are, just on the desktop or mobile version of Zoom, it's at the bottom of the screen. You'll see controls to chat, Q&A, or raise your hand. A little bit about us. Thanks, Denise, again for the intro. Those of you who don't know, I've actually moved to Gibraltar quite recently from Australia, about 6 months ago now. Mac Digital, we are not a digital agency, but we work in the consultancy space, marketing and digital strategy, over 17 years of experience. I've worked for many different clients and businesses, from very small to very large businesses. And just a little plug at the end there, I've just recently launched the UK version of our website, so feel free to check that out. So I think the real theme around COVID and all the unusual times we're going through is change. And it's interesting to see how some businesses are embracing change in creative ways. And the quote that I saw recently that really jumped out to me is that opportunity is everywhere, except most of us have our eyes closed. So I think it's interesting to just think how we can apply that sort of thing in this sort of situation. I mean, what we're seeing is large organizations. There's plenty of examples of this, but some that jumped out to me were companies like L'Oreal, who are shifting their factory production from, typical perfumes and lotions to hand sanitizer. You've seen clothing brands like Gap, Zara, convert whole factories from clothes to making face masks for doctors and nurses. And there's a whole bunch of other examples like that. We've seen kind of quirky, innovative use of technology. There's one that I noticed the other week called Streetify, which is a bit of it's like a virtual storefront, which you can sort of walk down a virtual street and go into different businesses. And it's sort of a interesting and creative way to, I guess, bridge that gap and fill that need that people have to sort of get outside their home. They're also offering first year access free in some countries, including the UK. We've seen really creative uses of technology. One example that I found here was an interesting use of augmented reality, or AR, with this company UCAM, who's offering their services to cosmetic brands, and it's basically a virtual try-on tool for makeup, which you can integrate with your website or something like that. And there's lots of other companies that are doing similar things, I suppose, in terms of offering free services or heavily discounted services during these sort of times, which is great to see. We're seeing complete business model shifts. One restaurant in Seattle was really quick to act on this. It was a burger place that immediately, once they couldn't open, they immediately transformed into 3 smaller pop-up restaurants. So drive-through burger joint, a takeaway bagel shop, and they started a family meal delivery service. And the business is going so well since doing this that they're actually thinking of keeping this structure and moving away from the more traditional, like, big family restaurant that they had in the past. So it's very interesting to see. Just a bit of a lighthearted one to end. In Russia, the Stay the F at Home bar. This is a virtual bar that's open to anyone around the world. Really designed to promote just promote, let people see each other, have a drink, meet up, have a chat, and support each other. Very clever little growth hack around this as well. I don't know if anyone noticed it, but there was a web meme going around with this whole stay the F at home thing. And yeah, they've very cleverly named their bar this, and they got really good response, like over 30,000 users in the first 24 hours and more than 120,000 in the first week. So really successful. So with that inspiration in mind, we'll move to the main presentation, 8 smart ways to market your business. I just want to quickly mention this because I've had people say to me in the past, I mean, what is marketing? It's just selling things to people, right? But it's really a lot more than that. And Wikipedia describes it as the business process of identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customers' needs and wants. And I think that's really interesting when you think of the current climate and how those needs and wants have changed or been challenged by the current situation. So I think it's more relevant than ever that marketing can be a powerful tool in these sort of times. And I also wanted to touch on this quickly, and some of you may recognize it, but for those of you who don't, it's a basic customer journey or funnel, which really just sort of demonstrates the process customers go through when they interact with your brand. And it's typically this sort of stage of becoming aware they have a problem through to considering possible solutions and alternatives, eventually making the purchase, and then beyond that, customer service, loyalty, referral, and things like that. This particular diagram is quite interesting because it splits it into digital and physical touch points, which you can see digital is sort of above the line and physical is below it. And you can see how things like your website, your social media channels, email can sort of interact with your more traditional physical channels like in-store or call center and things like that. Today we'll be sort of focusing mostly on the lower end of the funnel, so this sort of consideration through the purchase stage, but there's a lot more detail we could go into. So without further ado, we'll get into the 8 ways. Number 1 is stay active on social media. It's probably no surprise to anyone that everyone is on social media these days. There's a bunch of research around this, but one recent survey I was looking at said that 59% of people access social media every day or on most days, and over a third of people check their social media over 5 times a day. And I would bet that that's probably gone up in the last 2 months with the isolation and and everything else that's going on. So I mean, what does that mean? It means that social media is a more important communication channel than ever, and it's a way to connect with your customers. So there's a lot you can do with social, but most importantly, I mean, you can keep your customers informed in real time. You can use it as a customer service channel, and very large brands definitely do this, use it as a whole separate customer service channel to reply to customers' queries and complaints and everything else. You get analytics and reporting straight out of the box. You can do creative things like run surveys and polls, or you can just have conversations with your clients as well. If it seems a bit daunting, if you're a small or even a medium business, I mean, there's some great tools available that help you manage this sort of thing too. I mean, you can do things like schedule your social media, you can manage several accounts in one place, you can automate certain things. There's tools like Hootsuite, which I mean has both free and paid sort of enterprise level versions. Sprout Social is very popular, and one that I've seen recently that's probably a bit less well known, called Meet Edgar, starts at a few pounds a month, but it has some automation tools and some things like that you can use to sort of set your social media, parts of it on autopilot anyway. So it really helps take some of the weight off it when you're trying to manage it and run your business as well. Number 2 is local SEO, which is really about being visible to your customers. And customers on mobile phones want local information served to them all the time. It's even more relevant right now during these times. A recent Google survey said that of mobile customers, 85% of smartphone users have used their phone to search for local info. 81% of those have taken action as a result. So visited the website or called the business or done something. And breaking that down a bit further, 40% actually visited the store in person and 35% called the business after searching. So you can see how high the intent of these users is when they're searching for information on their phones. So how do you do it? How do you be visible in a local sense? Well, the first thing I would usually suggest is Google My Business. And for those of you who don't quite know what that is, I mean, you've probably seen it before, you may not have realized it, but when you've ever searched for a local business or a restaurant or anything like that, you'll sometimes see that map listings appear. And there'll usually be things like reviews and phone number and web address, maps all attached to that. That all comes from Google My Business. And the process of setting the page up itself is actually free. And I mean, in some cases, customers can do it for you if they notice your business is missing from Google Maps, in which case you can go in there and take claim of the listing and verify it. So if that's happened, then I'd suggest doing that as well. But there's a lot of tools within that platform. It allows you to be more easily found. There's even tools to build a free website within there. I mean, it is a very basic website, but if you're on a tight budget, you can use that to get something up and running. There's a posts feature, which you can use to promote events, products, and services, and those appear directly in Google search. And you can see an example of that on the right there. And one thing Google has done during COVID is actually added a special section for a COVID update. So if your business is closed or not operating as normal, you can post some information about that and let your customers know when they're searching for you. Also updating your business hours and things like that are really important. Other things from a local SEO point of view that you can do during this sort of downtime where a lot of businesses are consolidating or doing some of those admin tasks that maybe normally get shifted to the bottom of the pile at times, but checking your name, address, and phone number and web address on local directories and portals, social pages, any referral sites and partner sites you're on. This all helps with local SEO. So Google's aware that your business is the same business. And it's really about consistency, accuracy, and completeness. So just making sure the name is written the same way, phone numbers are up to date, web addresses are in there, descriptions are filled out, things like that. Seems really basic, but a lot of businesses don't do this. There's also other ways you can build authority to your website with outreach and getting quality backlinks into your site. You can add more credibility by building up your case studies, building up portfolio content, adding testimonials, and creating really valuable pillar content, which ranks in Google search engines. So I could talk for hours about this, but that's just the short version. But there's, yeah, it's all stuff that you can be doing, which actually helps move the needle quite a lot. Number 3 is communicating changes to customers. Again, this might seem pretty basic, but time and time again, I see it's not done. And I love this quote. It's one of my personal favorites, but the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it's actually taken place. So what might seem obvious to you may not seem obvious to others. So, and there's a whole bunch of ways you can do that. We talked about social media a bit. So having regular updates or even pinning a post just to the top of your feed so customers see it when they first go to your page. Having information that's up to date on your website. We talked about Google My Business posts, even at a basic level, signage. And yes, you'd be surprised. But I mean, on a personal level, there's nothing more frustrating, I think, than looking up a business, seeing they're open, going there, and then just finding that they're closed. And you've gone through all that. They've gone through all that effort to get you as a customer, and they've just tripped over at the last hurdle. And it's just, yeah, it's an easy thing to fix. There's other methods, obviously, like push notifications, or push methods. Just make sure that when you do it, it's timely, it's relevant, it's personalized, and you do it with consent. A lot of businesses have used COVID as an excuse to send a blast email to their entire customer database, even if you visited them once in like 1994. Probably not the best thing to do unless you're trying to clean your list up. But yeah, I mean, email marketing can be very effective if it's done with those things in mind. And SMS and WhatsApp are also there for more aggressive sort of communication channels or more one-to-one communication. This is just one local example here in Gibraltar. I actually read about a virtual tour that they were offering in a local newspaper. before going onto their website. And the first thing I thought when I got there was, where is the virtual tour? I sort of clicked on plan your visit. I scrolled down the homepage a bit. I had a bit of a look around. I mean, I consider myself a fairly savvy web user, but it actually took me a while to find where it was. And I don't know if it's changed now, but when I visited there anyway, it was actually under the Our Work section, and it was buried right down to the very last link under Our Work. So it was just a bit sad from my point of view to see they've obviously gone to a lot of work to build this thing, but then yeah, if you weren't looking for it and you came to the website, you could almost completely miss it was there. So again, just over communicate, if no doubt. Nice big button on the homepage, something in the news section, something like that. Number 4, making use of free communication tools. We are extremely lucky these days that we have so many great tools available to us, digital tools, and a lot of them are completely free. I mean, we've got things that like WhatsApp, Google Hangouts, which is changing to Google Meet, Facebook Messenger and social live feeds, which all allow you to create video and to interact with people in a video format, which is great for helping people feel connected. There's free versions of tools like Zoom, which most of us are probably familiar with now, or good old Skype. Whereby is a tool that used to be called Appear.in. There's a whole heap of others as well. But a lot of these actually have free versions, which come with some restrictions, but allows you to have a meeting up to 30 minutes or something like that completely for free. So it's really, we really have so many things at our disposal these days. And I'll go into some more tools a bit later on in the presentation. Number 5, just about repackaging your services and being creative, offering them digitally if you can. And this next slide, I was almost not going to put in there, but it was just too funny to leave out. And specifically in response to, I've had people say to me, look, I can't offer my services digitally. I'm a insert business here. I can't possibly do anything digitally. This is a website that's gone quite viral in recent weeks. It's about goats on Zoom, as it suggests. And it's actually a farm in the UK who, it started as a bit of a joke, I think, but they actually asked for a $5 just to, and you can invite a virtual goat, an actual live goat, to join your Zoom meeting. Just if you want to invite it for drinks, or just spice things up a bit. But I mean, all proceeds go to installation of renewable technologies on the farm, and it's something that's just gone absolutely viral in the last weeks. What I really love about it is it's just, despite the silliness, it's actually just a very creative and interesting way to use technology to make money and to put a smile on people's faces as well. For the rest of us that don't have goats on hand, I mean, what can we do? I mean, there's plenty of other ways to get your content in front of people and to monetize it. I mean, you can consult or educate. There's plenty of free video tools that we talked about a minute ago. I'm sure there's content you can probably package up and get it online. I mean, articles and guides can be uploaded and shared on your own website or blog, or there's also tools like SlideShare through LinkedIn, which can really expand your reach and get people at that kind of awareness and consideration stage of their journey. You can upload video for free, obviously, to tools like YouTube and Vimeo, or you can host a webinar with platforms like Zoom that we already mentioned. There's other tools like Demio or GoToWebinar that can do other things. So depends on your individual needs. And when you're doing all this, it's important to, I guess, keep in mind that you should be driving traffic back to your website, and that's where you can drive people down that funnel and convert them to an inquiry or a purchase or whatever your conversion goal is. Also, once they're on your website, there's ways you can monetize that content. I mean, if you have enough traffic, you can sell ad space on your website. It's not new, but I mean, Google AdSense and various affiliate tools, you get paid for clicks and visits. Those can go on your website or your YouTube channel if you have lots of views. There's platforms specifically designed to pay publishers for their content. Vimeo, which I mentioned before, is a bit like YouTube. But they also have an on-demand platform where publishers get paid when people view your content because they charge a subscription. Patreon is a website for creatives and a bunch of other people, but it's really about packaging your services into a subscription-based model, so you can charge a couple of pounds a month, and it helps you manage that side of things. Udemy is a massive global hub of educational content and courses. So if you've got something that you can package up into a course and put on there, then you can get paid for that content as well. And there's a bunch of others as well. Once you drive that traffic back to your site, there's heaps of ways you can accept payments as well and do all that online. I mean, there's tools like PayPal, WorldPay, Square that can allow you to take payments online, even send invoices out. A lot of them will just have a simple buy it now button that you can drag and drop into a content management system if you're using one, or if you're a web developer, you can do it in a bit more in an integrated way. There's tools that let you take bookings and payments. Eventbrite, Try Booking, Squire is one specifically for hairdressers, which I saw the other day, which I thought was interesting, and Meetup. If you want to take it to the next level, you can build an online shop, and there's free tools to do that as well. I mean, there's things like Shopify, Wix, Weebly, Squarespace. These are all recommended by Google as well. They're very, very strong, robust tools that are not necessarily free in each case, but they start from a few pounds a month. Actually, I think they do have free versions. You just need to leave the logo on there. But if you want to take that off, it's only a few pounds a month. There's options to list on aggregator sites, so things like eBay, Amazon, Etsy, and Gumtree. And you can promote your, if you've got an online shop, you can promote those listings with Google Shopping Ads, which was originally just a paid service, but since May this year, they've announced it is free to some businesses as well. So it's much like Google Posts. You can actually upload a product feed if you've got a retail shop, and you can get your products more visible on Google search. Also hot off the press, 19th of May 2020, Facebook and Instagram shops, which, similar to the Google ads, I think is a bit of a move by the business to help people during this COVID period, but it's also a bit of against Amazon. So Facebook and Instagram shops are a free tool that you can use to sell your products online. I haven't looked into it much. It's obviously very fresh, but it's something that if you do a lot of business or you've got a good customer base on Facebook or Instagram, it's something that might be a good fit for you. If you need help with running virtual events, there's most of you probably, definitely those of you in the Gibraltar area would be familiar with OME, but Denise is definitely embracing the brave new world and now hosting online events. As you can see today, you can use the OME platform to have an event created for you, or there's marketing packages available as well. So if you want more info about that, you can reach out to Denise or visit the OME website. Number 6, collaboration. Seen lots of creative ways that businesses are leveraging each other. I guess the thing to remember is that everyone's going through a similar thing. And even on a basic level, if it's just sharing the cost of digital or software subscriptions, I mean, there's tools that definitely allow you to do that. If you've got a big social following, you can start a group on LinkedIn or Facebook groups. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily business focused. It can just be about sharing ideas and sharing feedback. I mean, there might be opportunities for you to exchange and share complementary services, or if you're more in the B2B space, even co-hosting a webinar with another business. The great thing these days is with social media and LinkedIn, it's very easy to find a business, start a chat, send a message, and get the conversation going. Some examples of that were a restaurant in Connecticut called MetroBiz, who obviously, like many others, weren't able to open, so they started selling their prepared meals at a local grocery store. Another American example out of Portland was City Home, who's a home decor business. They partnered with a local florist to offer a competition, so 3 customers would receive a surprise bouquet from the local florist, Old Town Florist, when they got their delivery. And this benefit, it gave City Home a nice hook with their promotion, but it also opened up a new audience potentially for Old Town Florists. So collaboration is definitely happening on a lot of levels. And another form of collaboration, I suppose, is to leverage others who are already doing it well. And there are a lot of advantages to it, say versus building your own app or trying to build your own Amazon or something from the ground up. I mean, definitely saves costs by using an aggregator who are already doing it well. It extends your reach, and you can expand your offering very, very cheaply and easily. In the retail space, we've already talked a little bit about Amazon, eBay, Etsy, there's Alibaba as well. When in terms of food, there's some great local companies here, Hungry Monkey, Rock Hero, Nom Noms, and then in sort of outside of that, very well-known Uber Eats. In the HR space, there's companies like LinkedIn and Indeed, and I could go on. If you think accommodation, you think of sites like Booking.com or Expedia. I mean, there's real estate aggregators, all sorts of things like that. Number 7 is about modifying your existing processes. So again, I've spoken to a lot of businesses that are using this time to sort of consolidate and to really assess, maybe sort of tick off some of those tasks that they wouldn't normally find as much time to do. Digital transformation is definitely one of those things. And it could be as simple as moving from, old Excel spreadsheets to online software. It can be streamlining invoicing and payments. Converting some manual processes or automating them, even just updating your website like we talked about. You could try social media, or launch a new page, or even just update some of your old business systems. And there's probably a bunch of other different things as well. There's so many tools for this that, but it's I guess it's important to understand what's going to be most appropriate for your business. And I mean, some of them most of the ones I've got on here today start at either free or a few pounds a month. They're close to free, and then there's obviously higher level enterprise stuff. So if that's your need, then that's it's worth looking into. But when you look at invoicing and payments, there's tools like Revolut and PayPal and Stripe and Playo and others. Document sharing, a lot of it's done in the cloud these days. So there's tools like Google Docs, Dropbox, OneDrive that all make it really easy to share and collaborate on files. There's database tools like, Google Sheets, which is not, I guess it's sort of a database, but it's a fancier version of Excel, I guess, that connects to a lot of things online. It's a lot more flexible, a lot quicker and easier to share things. Airtable and Ninox are both more robust database type solutions, but they're drag and drop type editors. And you can see the one for Airtable down the bottom there. Very simple to use and very cheap. You can get started for free. Expense tracking, there's great tools like Expensify, Zoho, and others that auto scan receipts and handle all that stuff for you. There's collaboration tools, virtual whiteboards like Miro and Mural that you can connect with teams anywhere in the world and have a virtual session, add post-it notes and share comments and do all sorts of things. We already touched on website CMS tools, but just going through that again. So there's tools with no coding required at all. Weebly, Wix, Squarespace, Google Sites. WordPress is very well known. There's some coding needed there probably, or a little bit of know-how, depending on who you are. There's amazing automation tools these days from a customer service point of view. More expensive tools like HubSpot, which also does have a free version for the CRM. Hatchbuck, which is, I guess, a lower cost alternative to HubSpot, but there's also newer players like Autopilot and User.com, which do things like pop-up chat windows and nurture the customer when they come to your website and sort of manage some of the flow around that. So it really takes some of the weight off you and lets you be more efficient. There's great email campaign tools like MailChimp, which is completely free up to a certain level. SendGrid, which is also great. They have some very robust features from a developer point of view as well. And there's just so many more, like many more. So many so that insert shameless plug here, but we're actually in the process of building a website about this at the moment. And it's a sneak peek at this point just for people who are in today's webinar or watching the recording. So it is still in development. Be kind if you do go on there, just keep that in mind, but we do want feedback, so please feel free to give comments. We've got a few hundred tools on there already, but we're aiming to add a few hundred more and hopefully go live with that in the next couple of weeks. But a whole bunch of business tools, free marketing tools, video creation, social media, kind of everything in between as well. So stay tuned for that. Number 8, make it clear, how can people contact you? There's no point going through all this if people can't work out how to contact you in the end. And don't expect people to guess. I mean, it's just important to have some prominent website messaging, you know, to have that pinned social media post, or put a special message on Google My Business, like we said. And it's okay to set expectations around that. If you can't reply to messages the same day or within 24 hours, that's fine. Just let people know. I had an experience recently with a fairly large business in Estepona, and I sent them an email and they didn't reply for almost 3 weeks, which I just, by that time I'd already just moved on and gone somewhere else. Like I said to them, I said, I'm not to be blunt, but it just took you too long to reply. I had no idea what was going on. So making it clear on how people can contact you and setting the expectations early is never a bad idea. Alrighty, and that about wraps up the presentation content. So we're doing pretty well for time. I don't know if we want to move to a quick Q&A. Denise, have we got any questions, or if anyone wants to take this opportunity to either raise their hand or pop a question in the Q&A box, feel free.
Okay, well, we do have a Q&A box. Nobody's left any questions just yet, but if they would like to put a question in the Q&A box, or instead of that, they would like to go live and ask a question, we're happy to take questions at the moment. Just to share some of the key takeaways, I always find that Mark's workshops are really, really helpful, because some of those tips are just things that we miss, even though we are aware of them. One of the things I would add also is it's really important when you have the time to do some research, because there are so many tools available and there is so much out there, whether it is engaging with a partner, collaborating with similar businesses, hiring somebody to do these types of activities for you. Just make sure that you have found the right fit for your business, because that's essential. Sometimes we try and do things ourselves and they just don't come up to the level that they should be. So a little bit of investment, a little bit of research. The university is also hosting a digital marketing course, I think in the month of June. So that's another thing to look at if you'd like to really upgrade your skills in terms of digital marketing. I think there's a question in the Q&A box, so we'll just go over to that. So if you would like to answer, Mark, you have access to the Q&A, or do you want me to ask the question?
Oh, yeah, did you want to take this one maybe?
Yeah, sure. Guy is asking if we will be emailing a copy of the presentation. So we have been delivering this session for free. So we're going to upload the whole session to the YouTube channel where you can access it and watch the whole session, but we won't as such be sending out the actual presentation. Once we get back to our usual events and we can have tickets, we will be providing people with what we were doing with previous workshops, which is the full slides and the certificate of attendance. So unfortunately, not in this session, but you can catch the full session again in the YouTube channel. So we will be sending out the link for that. So, yep, Siddhant, we're going to be sharing it on the YouTube channel, and we'll provide you with the link.
Cool.
Okay, so we have
Looks
some
like
more
a couple more.
questions. Yep, lots more questions coming in. Paula Stengo, Mark is asking, if you had to choose one channel for social media marketing for financial services, which one would you use?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Paul, and one I think I get asked quite a bit. I think one thing to think about is there's no one-size-fits-all approach for any one business or any one industry or any one area. I mean, social media use can vary wildly depending on which country you're in. Even Twitter, for example, is massive in the US, but almost non-existent in Australia, as an example. What I generally would say in this case is to think about your audience, think about what they're most likely to be using, what type of, are they professional, are they more social? I mean, in financial services, you probably have a pretty good idea of what your typical customer sort of looks like, and think about the channels that would appeal to them the most. And also in what type of content you're delivering and how you can add value to them. I definitely suggest to do a fewer number of things really well than trying to spread yourself too thin. I would say at a pretty good guess that Instagram may not be, or Pinterest may not be the best social channels for a financial service business, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's you'll have lovely photos of people who've bought yachts and things like that. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's really important to consider your audience and to consider how you can add value. And the good thing is with all this sort of stuff is if you're unsure, you can just test. You have access with all these social media platforms to stats and data. You can see how engaged these audiences are, and you can see how they're interacting with your brands. So the other thing, I guess, is to just not be creating content for the sake of content, but you want to really know that it's working for you and people are seeing it and they're actually doing something when they see it. Otherwise you're kind of wasting your time. Hope that
content
helps.
is key. Content is key. It's always key. So we have a question from Aaron Shea from Benefits Business Solutions. Hi, Aaron. What's the best tool to store and manage email addresses for contacts and clients? They thought about Salesforce, but it is expensive.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, I definitely agree. Salesforce is an expensive option. I mean, it's definitely more on the enterprise level of things. I think what you may be talking about or asking about is a CRM or a customer relationship management system. Some of the tools I mentioned earlier, like HubSpot, they do have paid versions, but there's a free business CRM for up to, I think it's up to 5,000 customers or 2,000. And then they have some tiers above that, which are fairly cost effective. It's really good. They also do things like website automation and personalization and a whole bunch of other stuff. But if you just want to use the CRM product, you can. There's also some of those other tools I mentioned, like Hatchbuck, I think Autopilot and user.com also have sort of CRM elements to them. So I would suggest there's definitely much more cost-effective tools out there than Salesforce, I would suggest. And if you're a smaller business, definitely very strong and powerful tools as well that are going to give you a lot of value. So as Denise said, I'd suggest some research, but I mean, those sort of tools or pieces of software like them might be a good place to start.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So we have Jo Abigail. She is a local trainer, if I'm not mistaken, but she can tell us in the chat. I think she introduced herself earlier via websites. She's talking about getting many more queries via social media in Gibraltar. So is it crucial to have a website, especially locally?
I would definitely say yes. I'm just pausing because I'm just thinking that there might be a few reasons why you are getting more queries on social, and part of it could be the type of business. I mean, as I said, customers are very active on social these days. If it was I'm just trying to think if it was a financial planner or an accountant, I'm trying to think of me personally, maybe I'd be less likely to jump on social and ask a question But if you had a different type of audience, I mean, maybe they would be more active on there. I also wonder if how visible your website is to people. It could be a case of when someone's searching for your business name, and I mean 93% of people will do that when they're looking for a business. They'll go straight to Google and type in your business name. It could be a case that your website's maybe not coming up. If you've got a very active social media page, I mean, that might actually come up at the top above your website. So there's possibility of that. There's just the first thing people see, and maybe it's more visible, and they're kind of connecting that way. So I guess there's a couple of different reasons why people are interacting with you on social. I would say that the fact people are doing that, it says something about your audience, and I would definitely take that sort of nudge into being active on social media and doing more in that space. I wouldn't say to forget the website completely. And almost on the other hand, it might point to there being some sort of improvements that could help with your website. Maybe a bit of SEO work to make it more visible. Maybe the website itself is not, and I haven't seen your website, so I'm not, I'm just talking generally here, but it could be that the website itself is not as functional or as easy to navigate as it could be. It could be one of a number of things, or perhaps just people just prefer social in your niche. But I would say a website is still important. And with a lot of these things you're doing on social media, in most cases with content and everything like that, you would try and drive people back to your website where you've got full control over what they're doing. So I hope
so we have one more question from Paul. Is short and regular video the most effective method of communicating virtually?
That's a very good question. I might put my 5 cents in, and then Denise, if you want to add to it, feel free. I'm speaking as someone, I suppose, who's not just worked virtually, but have worked with remote teams all over the world for many years now. And I mean, I've always found that video just does something extra. Like having that FaceTime just seems to build rapport, and it seems to just break down barriers more effectively than like an email or something like that ever can. I've personally found short video to be really effective. These days, it's super easy to just jump on and record something, almost quicker than writing an email, to be honest, in some cases. So yeah, I mean, I've found it to be very effective. How about you, Denise?
Well, I mean, there's various things that I would add. I think going back to Joe's questions, I think one of the reasons to have a website is not so much about the traffic, but to have your stamp on the internet. So it's a referral, it's your sort of presentation card, and whether people then choose to access your services via your social media page because they find it easier or more active, or any other means, I think as a business, you still need to have that presentation card on the internet. Say you are reaching out to different companies, you can't say, oh, visit my social media page. I mean, you can, but it's not the same. It's not at the same level as saying, visit my website and you'll see more about what we do. In terms of video, obviously the amount of social media marketing that we all try to produce for our businesses is insane. So I think you have to find new ways to engage people, and visuals is absolutely the way forward. And I think not just video, but good quality content, storytelling to a sense, when you're creating your social media posts, has become something that is very engaging to people. So high definition images, high definition short videos, or any type of videos is something that just engages people because it gets their attention quickly, especially if they feel like they recognize somebody there, or it could be funny. Humor is a great way to engage with people these days as well. So it's really about getting creative. Definitely you have to set yourself apart, and you can use many different ways to do that. in terms of how to access the financial sector, I think finding groups of finance professionals on the different social media platforms is a way that I, for example, have accessed marketing, specific target marketing for different types of events, because from doing what we're doing today with this workshop, we've done completely different things to do with Bitcoin using One Media and events. So you wouldn't offer it to the same people. We've got some more questions, so we'll go back to that because I can talk forever too. So Guy, having gone online during COVID-19 with Shopify, hard to find online payments facilities via local banks. That's very true. Some international facilities not extended to Jib, others not compatible, e.g. Shopify and WorldPay. Which payment method products are most secure in your opinion, apart from PayPal?
Ooh, that's an interesting
hard one, yeah.
While I think about that for a minute, I just want to quickly add to what you said, Denise, about visuals. I know I did remember seeing some research somewhere that suggested that visuals are absorbed 60 times faster by the brain than text. So whether it's video or some sort of imagery. So I think the science behind it kind of backs up that visuals are more important as well. Now that I've stalled for a minute, yeah, I think Gibraltar is a very interesting exception in some ways. And as I said at the start, I haven't been there that long, so I do apologize, but I'm sort of naturally running into some of these things myself as I go along. One thing I have seen, some providers that I've seen that are very popular, and I don't know if they're compatible. I think there's maybe two questions here. One's around compatibility and one's around security. In terms of compatibility, I probably don't know enough yet to answer that. I mean, I'm happy to take that offline a bit and maybe look into it. In terms of security, again, I probably don't know enough about the technical side, but in terms of what's quite well used and sort of validated by other companies, I know that some big website providers like Weebly use Square for their payments. I know Stripe is very popular as well and very flexible. I don't, and there's others as well, but I don't know if I know enough about it to comment specifically from a security point of view or a compatibility point of view. But yeah, there are definitely other payment providers that you can use. But I'm happy to take that conversation offline and provide some more thoughts if it helps.
So there's a couple more questions, but before we go into that, payment solutions are an absolute nightmare for Gibraltar itself, because a lot of, like Guy has pointed out, a lot of them have not got the banking in Gibraltar is not included into the payment system. So you have to use UK, and it's not always possible. So it is something of a hurdle, but I know, not for a fact, I can't give you the exact information, but I know there must be ways to do it, because other people, you know, Hungry Monkey, for example, takes payments online. So it would be interesting to see what they're using. I do think at this point, I also want to mention that Mark puts in a lot of effort into these sessions, but I think for some of you who are participating and who have a lot of, you know, interest in the topic, book a consultation with him. Have a more in-depth conversation and see what services he can provide for your business or for yourself, because definitely he's somebody who has become a very valuable part of our team, and we're really, really happy that he can offer these webinars. So yeah, please feel free to contact him direct. We're just going to answer these questions that we've received. One is from Lou. Our business is very reactive and can come from all countries across the world. What tools can we use to become more proactive? Would our website have to be the strongest part of our business identity?
That's a good question. And just quickly, thank you, Denise. I appreciate the kind words. I'm always happy to give some advice. This question is an interesting one. When you say reactive, it sounds like you're getting a lot of inbound inquiries from all over the world, which, I mean, it sounds like a great problem to have. I would echo Denise's thoughts from a few minutes ago about your website being the strongest part of your business identity, just because it does really form the core of so much of what you do. If you are operating in an international market, I mean, there's a few different ways you can tackle that. You can launch a website on a .com and probably and you could maybe translate sections of that or have different versions of that in different countries or different languages. It's important to consider the SEO side of things when you're doing that. So make sure you speak to someone who knows what they're doing. They're also quite cost effective. If you're talking about more of a push rather than a pull approach, you could definitely do some low cost digital marketing in certain countries. If you know you're getting a lot of inquiries from a particular area, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google Ads, they all let you do quite good location targeting and audience targeting. So you could just do a test on a very specific audience in a very specific area and just see how things go. And then, yeah, you can sort of work it from there, but you don't have to invest a lot of money. You can just do it in fairly quick and low budget and just sort of see what's working for you. But I mean, I'd maybe use that information that you're getting as a bit of a hint to where prospective clients are coming from and be on the front foot. But yes, website, totally agree with what Denise said, especially if you're dealing internationally. I'd find it kind of weird if a business didn't have a website, just personally.
Yeah. So third question from Paul. So happy that you're enjoying the session. Do you know of any marketing newsletter published that is entirely made up of a series of short videos rather than text or links to text on websites?
Ooh, this is an interesting one. I can't think of one. I feel like the best newsletters I've seen, and I can't think of specific examples right now, but I feel like the best newsletters I've seen have been a real mixture of content. And I would probably suggest the same thing for social. I mean, video is great, but I wouldn't necessarily have every single post video. I think the best businesses do a combination of content. They do some visuals. They do a little bit of, you need some text in there as well for search engine optimization and visibility. And then you've got your video content, which is your hero stuff. Animated GIFs come up in images, in emails, newsletters quite a lot, which is really effective, which is just like an animated image. Basically, it's not a video file, it's an image. I think the problem I found with video in emails and even newsletters is if you have a bunch of them, you still need someone to click the video and watch it. So if you can do a bit of a prompter with an animated GIF or some sort of thing, just something moving is always good. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but like rich mixed content is great, and movement definitely is good for getting people's attention. Denise, can you think of any great newsletters that jump out to you straight away?
I would go for very concise amounts of text and very interactive content in a newsletter, mainly because whenever we open a newsletter, and I tend to make that mistake, I want to say so many things in the newsletters because so much effort goes into constructing events that often, you know people are not going to get to the bottom, because anything beyond 100 words is just, nobody has time for that anymore. So I definitely would say try and be very, very concise with whatever text you do have to include, but it is necessary. You do have to have those sort of call to action texts and just a little bit of a brief on what it is that you want people to watch. Otherwise, you're not going to have that engagement with purely all video. I would say there is also, it depends. I mean, if you have put together a video where you simply want people to watch rather than to read a newsletter because you have content, like in this case, we'll put this video together and all we're going to send out is, watch this webinar, and it's all there packaged. And that could be a way to sort of send out whatever it is you want to communicate in a newsletter in a video format instead. But that takes a little bit more brainstorming and work, I think, in answer to that. Yeah,
that's a really good point you made, Denise. And if I can add to that, it's usually best practice in a marketing sense. If it's a marketing comms email or a promotional email, to just really have one key message for that email. So whether it's go online to watch a video, attend our seminar, whatever that is. The newsletter format is tricky, and there's definitely a temptation to write a mountain of text. But you're exactly right. People just skim things, and less is more, definitely in that sense. So I would just reiterate what you said, like concise text, really clear call to actions, just even your formatting, just plenty of white space, nice big buttons. Keep in mind that a lot of people are reading emails on their phone as well, so they're not sitting down to their desktop as much. So just sort of think about how it's going to appeal to a mobile user as well. And chances are they're not going to scroll through pages and pages of text. They just want to quickly and clearly see what they need to do and how they do it.
Fantastic. So we've answered all the questions. I just wanted to add one more example that I found really touching in the past couple of months. You know, we've all had to adapt to circumstances that were pretty trying, to say the least. My business model went from something I'd been doing for 20 years to this new online session. And right now I feel a lot more comfortable and calm with delivering these sessions than I did in the first 3 or 4, to say the least. And it's been a lot of pressure to do this. So when I've received messages from the different companies that I have business with, one that really caught my attention, and actually they happen to be the sponsors as well, was from the CEO of Abacus. And I was super impressed with the fact that he wrote a very personal letter, communicating that, you know, everybody from Abacus was doing well, but that they were also there to support all of their clients. But the best thing I think I found in that email is that he gave his own personal or business mobile number in case anybody wanted to call him directly for any type of reassurance during this time. I think those messages that have come out are really showing how people are communicating differently, and how you can really engage with your clients. Because I felt, even though I didn't feel the need to call him, but I felt that it was just such an amazing gesture to have from the CEO that I'm going to stay with them. So that's just another example of a very good customer engagement. And I wanted to bring that up today because I know Abacus, a lot of the team at Abacus are here on this session. And I also have great, I feel so grateful that within all of this time, they not only supported the events when we could do them offline, but they've also supported us now. So thank you everybody who's joined this morning. I hope you enjoyed this session. If you need us, or if you'd like to reach out to us, you can do that either via the startupgrind.com /Gibraltar website. There's a form there where you can reach us. You can also reach us by direct email if you would like to ask us anything further or just run anything by us. We're here for our community. Mark, I'll just hand over to you to say your goodbyes, but I think we're going to wrap up.
Thanks, Denise. Yeah, thank you. No, thank you all for coming this morning. Just again to sort of reinforce what you've said. Hope everyone got some value out of it, at least part of it. And yeah, please, by all means, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, via email, via the website, and yeah, just let me know if there's anything else I can do to help.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, it's a beautiful, warm, sunny day. We can't really run around as much as we used to, but enjoy your day, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Denise. Thanks, everyone.
Okay,
have a good
bye-bye.
day.